What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Anthony Joshua hasn't been the same since the Vladimir Klitschko fight. That knockdown when Klitschko caught him with the straight right hand, which he's dropped numerous opponents in his Hall of Fame career, badly hurt AJ. And AJ was right for the pickings when he got up. But Vladimir Klitschko, being a cautious fighter throughout his career, didn't put his foot on the gas and kind of went into a mindset of, I'm going to slowly break the guy down, touch him with some jabs, and in the right hand will eventually get him out of there later on as he tires. And that was a miscalculation of Vladimir Klitschko's part. Miscalculation, and it cost him dearly as far as retaining his, getting his belts back and becoming, I guess, a 2 or 3 time unified champion, as he was stopped later on in that fight in the 11th round. But what that knockdown did was it took a lot of confidence away from AJ, made him less willing to jump into the fire, made him a more cautious fighter, made him understand that his jaw was made of chandelier, and it cost him in the Andy Ruiz fight. And it actually was showing up in fights before that fight, but he was able to pull through those fights because he was going against less than stellar competition. And Joseph Parker, a guy that had a belt but was not a great fighter. Guys like Carlos Takam, who's been a solid C-level fighter in the heavyweight division. Fighters like Alexander Povetkin, whose resume is thinner than sliced bread. A guy that only 2 fighters that's good on his resume he lost to in Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. But when he got in there with the Andy Ruiz, a guy that had a high skill level but had an underperforming career, but still, with that being said, was 32-1, and the best fighter on his resume, he arguably beat in Joseph Parker. Those fast hands that Andy Ruiz had touched AJ on his jaw and was dropped to him multiple times in that fight. Got exposed. They said he got concussed in that fight, but it was much more than a concussion. It was a mindset that got destroyed when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. And as you look at the fight after Vladimir Klitschko, let's just go fight by fight that what led up to his ultimate demise when he fought Andy Ruiz. Fought Carlos Takam, like I said, a C-level fighter. Came out in that fight looking good early on, but didn't have the same ferocity and aggression that he showed against Charles Martin, against Dominic Brazil, against Eric Molina, when he was in a seek and destroy mindset, implementing his will and size on his opponents, and the statue coming out in the ring as Mr. Universe, a guy with muscles upon muscles. He was able to kind of dominate his opponent psychologically and physically. But that was no longer the case against Carlos Takam, a guy that was a C-level fighter, but a guy that was a veteran and had been around the block, as they say. He came out that fight looking good early on, but didn't have, like I said, he was winning that punch. He was winning that fight with skill level, but not the aggressiveness and ferocity that he had in the previous fights before Klitschko. But Carlos Takam was able to warm up, and he kind of rose to the occasion, and was able to have his moments in the middle part of that fight, and was actually coming on strong when that fight was abruptly stopped by a UK ref for reasons unknown. AJ later said that he got head-butted and got his nose broke. The fans disapproved of the premature stoppage. AJ went into full spin mode and projected himself being the man in the division and willing to fight all top level opponents. And that's when those whispers, not even a whisper, that's when the roars started coming loud and clear in AJ's head. Hey, we want you to fight Deontay Wilder. We want you to fight Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury was still trying to get his head right, with drug suspension and stuff. He was working his way back, hadn't resumed his career at that point. So Deontay Wilder was the man that everybody wanted to see AJ fight. AJ later on fought, after Carlos Takam, fought Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker was a guy with a belt, but not elite level heavyweight, in my opinion. His 2 wins before the Anthony Joshua fight were very suspect. Beating Andy Ruiz, split decision in his home country of New Zealand. A lot of people thought Ruiz won that fight. And then he fought Fury. And that fight was very non-exciting. A lot of people thought Harry Fury won a very boring fight, of what you call a boring, non-entertaining type of fight. A lot of people thought Harry Fury won that fight, as Joseph Parker struggled with Tyson Fury's boxing skills and his unorthodox style of fighting. So he won that fight, and then he got a fight with AJ. They promoted that fight like, yeah, unification fight, did a lot of promotion. Fight did big numbers in the UK. But in that fight, AJ won that fight because Joseph Parker, first of all, didn't let his hands go. The time he did let his hands go, he actually hurt AJ a couple of times in that fight. AJ, I don't think, hurt Joseph Parker at all in that fight, but AJ won that fight just on pure activity, letting his hands go and being more willing to engage than Joseph Parker was. But the fight was another non-exciting, boring fight that Joseph Parker had been in his previous two fights. AJ got caught up in that. But what you saw that was missing in AJ was his aggressiveness and ferocity that he showed in the Martin fight, Brazil fight, and the Molina fight. A lot of people say, well, that was just Joseph Parker not willing to engage. A lot of people blame the referee for breaking him up, didn't allow any inside fighting, which is AJ Achilles heel. After he was able to win that fight, and people moved on and basically said nothing to see here. I'm noting all this while I'm watching AJ. I'm like, man, this guy's not the same. He's not the same fighter. I start picking up on it. Actually, when he stopped Vladimir Klitschko in the 11th round, as he walked back to his corner, he had a look on his face like, man, I do not want to go through this again type of look. Even though he won that fight, he had that, man, I just walked through some fire, but I don't want to have to walk through this fire in another fight. That made AJ more cautious. It made him less willing to jump in the fire, less aggressive, and it showed off in his last 3 fights since the Klitschko fight. Then he got in there with Andy Ruiz, a late replacement fighter, after Jarrell Miller got pulled from the fight because of PED use. Okay, Andy Ruiz, a guy that career was a career that was not fulfilling career. A guy with a lot of natural ability, a lot of good technical skills, got fast hands, but a guy that was not dedicated to the sport of boxing. Look at his build. Guy that didn't look like he was in good shape coming into fights, and a guy people thought didn't take boxing seriously. He was able to buy out his contract with Top Rank, or I say Al Heyman was able to buy him out of his contract with Top Rank, and he signed with the PBC. And he had a fight before the AJ fight against a European fighter, looked very good, had fast hands, and looked like the Andy Ruiz that people were hoping he would become. A guy that was a seek and destroy type of guy, a guy that would use his fast hands to get inside and break his opponents down. That's what he was able to do in that fight. He got in there with AJ. AJ caught him with a right hook, I believe. No. Yeah, it was a right hook, and dropped Andy Ruiz. AJ jumped on Andy Ruiz, and rightfully so, he did that. AJ know that he have a lot of confidence in his ability to take a hard heavyweight punch. So he jumped on Andy Ruiz and went for the kill, and then got caught with a shot that he never recovered from. It later on revealed that AJ was concussed in that fight, and he, as you can see, he got up. And it was a wonder that Andy Ruiz fell into the same trap Vladimir Klitschko did. Didn't jump on AJ right off the top. AJ was able to kind of withstand and keep Andy Ruiz at bay for 2 rounds, but Andy Ruiz eventually caught up with him with his hand speed and was able to drop him multiple times and stopped him. I think in the was it 6th round TKO stoppage for Andy Ruiz, as AJ could not take the punches from a guy that wasn't known as a knockout puncher, wasn't known as a strong puncher at heavyweight. But that just lets you know that AJ's got a glass jaw. He's Amir Khan 2.0, and that's what happened. That's what he lost, or that's what got exposed, or however you want to say it. Either that's what got exposed in the Vladimir Klitschko fight, or that's what got lost. Whatever the case may be, he got exposed in that fight and lost a lot of confidence in that fight, and became a more cautious and more cerebral fighter, not the seek and destroy fighter that he was before the Klitschko fight. That's one of the reasons why he has no chance to beat Deontay Wilder. He has no chance. He has a chandelier glass jaw, and Deontay Wilder is the hardest hitting fighter in boxing history, let alone the hardest hitting fighter in heavyweight history. You look at Ernest Shavers, he was the one before Deontay Wilder came along. He was the top dog in the heavyweight division as far as knockout artists before Deontay Wilder came along. And that's the reason why Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn have kept AJ away from Deontay Wilder. They know after that Vladimir Klitschko fight that, hey man, that's Vladimir Klitschko that dropped him with that right hand. What if that had been Deontay Wilder? He probably wouldn't have got up. If he'd have got up, he would have quickly got stopped, as Deontay Wilder would have jumped on him like white on rice and would have knocked him out. They know that. That's why they played the propaganda game, made it look like AJ wanted to fight, but in all actuality, they wanted no part of Deontay Wilder, as they convinced AJ to turn down $50 million to fight Deontay Wilder in the U.S. So that's what it is, folks. Anthony Joshua lost his confidence, became less of a fighter after the Vladimir Klitschko fight, and it's showing itself the last 4 fights since then. Now, his only hope in the Andy Ruiz rematch is a hope that Andy Ruiz has got caught up in the fame and fortune of being a heavyweight champion and being the first Mexican heavyweight champion in boxing history. The guy's bought homes, bought cars, just got through celebrating his 30th birthday, big extravagant birthday party, exotic birthday party. They gotta hope that he's lost focus, lost his hunger. Like the great middleweight champion Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and jog when you're wearing silk pajamas and you're sleeping in silk sheets. They gotta hope that's the case with Andy Ruiz, as that was the case with Buster Douglas after he beat Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. He came back after that fight against Evander Holyfield, out of shape, didn't have the same hunger, didn't have the same focus, and was quickly dispatched by Evander Holyfield. I think in round 2 or round 3, he was knocked out and didn't bother to get up when he was knocked down, as Evander Holyfield became the top dog at the heavyweight division of that time. That's what Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn, and AJ got to hope that happens with Andy Ruiz, because if that didn't happen, if he comes back more hungry or with the same hunger, more focus, knowing he's in a foreign country, Saudi Arabia, knowing he don't want to take a chance of it going to the judges, because he was behind on the cards with AJ in the first fight after dropping AJ multiple times. He was actually behind on the scorecards when that fight was stopped. So he's got to come in there with the same mindset. If he comes in there with the same mindset and comes in there hungry and focused with his hand speed and AJ chandelier glass jaw, it's going to be a second defeat for Anthony Joshua. And it'll all go back to, and it all started in the Vladimir Klitschko fight. A fight that was AJ's a glorious victory for AJ and beginning of the end for AJ. It was a win and a defeat in the same fight. He won the battle, but he lost the war, as he found out that he couldn't take a heavyweight punch. And when he got up, he knew he was badly hurt, and he knew that he was white for the pickings. But Vladimir Klitschko, again, for some unknown reason, or for known reasons. Just look at Vladimir Klitschko. I'm not gonna say unknown reasons. Vladimir Klitschko's got a history of being a cautious fighter, and he was able to escape through that and hold on to his belt, and hold on to his belt by stopping Vladimir Klitschko in the 11th round. He didn't have that luxury with Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz kept the pressure on him, even though he was able to keep him at bay for 2 rounds. Andy Ruiz never lost focus. Andy Ruiz was still on the prowl, still looking to let those fast hands go, and he was able to still get AJ up out of there. So we'll see what happens in the rematch. But if Andy Ruiz come back focused and hungry, he will beat AJ again, because AJ jaw has been exposed, and it got exposed in the Vladimir Klitschko fight. This is JB Sports, or better yet, subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and I holla.